You silent?
This was an interview many had been waiting for, but the royal family had feared. It's not even been fully broadcast in the UK yet. But speaking to Oprah, the Duchess of Sussex reveals how emotionally damaging the last few years have been for her.
Look, I was really ashamed to say it at the time, and ashamed to have to admit it to Harry especially, because I know how much loss he's suffered. But I knew that if I didn't say it, that I would do it. And I just didn't want to be alive anymore.
She was talking about pressures she faced while pregnant and the tabloid media attention. This was her in January 2019 while going to a performance in the Royal Albert Hall. When the camera saw smiles, she said she was hiding immense pain, crying when the lights went dark, and had only told Harry of how she was feeling hours before. Later on in the interview, talk turns to her son Archie and the discussions being had during her pregnancy.
So we have in tandem the conversation of he won't be given security, he's not going to be given a title, and also concerns and conversations about how dark his skin might be when he's born.
That was also a moment of shock among those who watched live at our watch parties in LA and London.
It's not a nice thing to think that this is the royal family that I personally love and adore. This is the way that they behave behind closed doors.
You can argue why they're treated like that. Is it because she's a divorcee American, or is it the fact that she is a woman of colour, black woman, biracial, however you want to look at it? That's the question.
In an institution that is not that far removed from slavery and colonialism, it's not a shock here or there, anywhere, that like, I have friends who date folks of color whose families ask if that's the first question is like, is the person going to come, is your child going to come out dark?
Over in Windsor, where the Queen is in residence, there were mixed feelings about the interview.
People love scandal, and people love these stories of intrigue and family dynamics. But I think it's gossip.
I think it's probably a wake-up call for them that they need to move with the times more and understand more about mental health and problems like that, and not just try and brush it all under the carpet, because that's what they've done for years and it didn't work with Diana and it hasn't worked with this.
I was shocked that they would look into colour as, you know, if anything, it should have been something they should have embraced.
I think it's a bit sad, really. I don't think they should have done it. I think it should have been left behind closed doors.
The inner workings of the royal family have been laid bare in one of the most extraordinary ways. You have to think back to the Diana interview when you had such an outpouring of information that we've heard about this secret institution. One of the conversations that struck out the most among people that went to our watch party, people that we spoke to in Windsor, was about race.
That theme was still rippling through as Americans woke up this morning. Oprah questioned about the identity of who discussed the potential skin tone of Archie.
There's a big guessing game all around the world. Who was it, who was it, who wasn't? I thought it was very touching that Harry still is choosing to protect the identity of whoever that was.
Yes, and he did not share the identity with me, but he wanted to make sure that I knew, and if I had an opportunity to share it, that it was not his grandmother nor his grandfather that were a part of those conversations.
In reaction to the interview, Serena Williams spoke out in support of her friend, saying, "I know firsthand the sexism and racism institutions and the media use to vilify women and people of colour to minimise us, to break us down and demonise us." Back here in the UK, the Harry and Meghan interview will be shown in the next few hours. A Snap poll asking opinions today says a third of Britons have no sympathy at all for them. The Prime Minister is refusing to comment on the interview, but a minister in his cabinet did. Zach Goldsmith tweeting that Harry is blowing up his family. Buckingham Palace is yet to respond or add to its latest statement on the investigation into Meghan's behaviour, but the allegations levelled at the monarchy are among as serious as they get.
Well, earlier I spoke to Dean Stott, who is a friend of Prince Harry's, and I began by asking if he thought the Duke and Duchess wanted to continue to have a relationship with the royal family at all.
I think the interview was very respectful of the royal family. They talked about, obviously, the love for the grandma and how often they're in communications, actually more than ever before. Harry spoke at the end about how he'd like to reconcile his relationship with his brother and his father. I think what was clear from the interview was the distinction between the royal family and the institution. And I think it's more the institution that have come off quite bad on this interview.
But in a sense, he's not being very kind about his father, because clearly the father is completely cut off from him.
Yeah, but he does mention at the end that obviously, he felt like he escaped and his father and his brother are trapped. Again, I don't feel the royal family have a voice. I think it's been dictated by the institution.
Do you think there is really any way back now, or is that it?
I think there's always a way back. I think they obviously needed to say their bit. If they see that there's something wrong, address it. And that's what they've done here. I think there's always a way back. I know Harry's is coming back to his mother's memorial to get open on the 1st of July. And hopefully that would start building those relationships.
It's pretty damaging stuff, and he must have meant to damage them.
It's no different from his mother doing the interview or Sarah Ferguson doing the interview, as well. So this is not unique. I think obviously, if it's the way to get the message out there, to defend his side and Meghan's side, then obviously they felt that they needed to do it.
And what sort of life are they really managing to forge in California? Are they going to be kind of the equivalent of film stars?
No, I think obviously, they're in the public eye. The whole saying that they wanted to step back from the limelight and be away from the public eye, they never actually said that. The choice of intrusion and consensual media is what they're distinguishing. They've got their own media production, Archie Production, which is going to then help promote and flourish Archie Foundation. So they very much need to be in the public eye and that media to give that exposure.
And I mean, have you heard from him since the interview?
Not since the interview. I spoke to him this week, though.
And what did he say to you?
Obviously he's happy here now. He has Archie, he has Meghan, he has a lovely house. He talks about that on the interview as well. Meghan's 6 months pregnant, so they've got something to look forward to. They were more forced into this position, and thankfully, it's come out quite well for them. They're now established. He can afford his own security, which he talks about on the documentary, being able to do that and be self-sufficient.
It may have come out quite well for them, but it's come out pretty badly for the royal family, hasn't it? There are accusations of racism. They sound as if they're at war with each other and the rest of it.
Yeah, there was obviously signs of misogyny and bigotry before him, and obviously now there's the touch on racism. Obviously they respected not to give away any names, but I think the underlying issue here is the institution and not so much the royal family. And they were very respectful to members of the royal family. Yes, some may have been, mentioned, but hopefully those ties will join again.
Has he ever talked to you about what sort of royal family he would like to see?
They were 100% committed to the royal family when they got married, when they realised they weren't being protected, and they didn't have the support. And then obviously with Meghan's mental health, which they touched on, then he had to act. He could see history repeating itself, and any man would do the same to protect his family.
Dean Stott, thank you very much indeed for talking to us.
Thank you.